What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 316 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, I did an Instagram live. Every once in a while, I'll pop in on Instagram to do a live podcast episode, just talking about how the season's been going for everyone that popped in. We got a lot of mixed responses, been going really good. Everything to it being one of the more difficult seasons, which seems to be what I hear from quite a few people. It's been a very mixed response whenever I ask that question or just hear people talking about it or people messaging me. For us too, a hard start to the season, but eventually about a few weeks ago, leads just started flowing in here. So in this episode, we touch on a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales as well, thanks to DTE Landscaping coming in and talking about that a little bit more. So a few good pieces of information if you feel like you're having a little bit of a more difficult season here as well in this Instagram live discussion. But before we get into this, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. Patio SEO has hopped on board as a sponsor, and they are a leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed. We've had him on the podcast a couple of times, some of our more popular episodes, and he owns hardscape businesses across the country. And now you can have access to the same in-house marketing team that he has access to at patioseo.com. So if you're looking for a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, check them out at patioseo.com. And Knowledge Tree Consulting. George and Peter there are efficiency consultants in our industry, and I've had the privilege of having them both on one episode of the How to Hardscape podcast, and George multiple other times. Always great episodes, and I also got to sit down on a one-on-one with George and went through what they do for businesses, and I left that meeting with a lot of value, so I can't recommend them enough. If you want to learn more about what they do, go to knowledgetreeconsulting.com and get that conversation started with them today. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. How is everyone doing? How is your 2025 season going? What is going on, hardscapers? Thank you so much for joining us here. I just wanted to hop on, do a quick live. I'm going to be recording a How to Hardscape podcast episode here, and just wanted to see how everyone's 2025 season is going here. For us here, we have been focused on getting as much jobs in the books as possible. HVC_construction says busy, need more guys. That's a good problem to have. I've heard a lot of mixed things around the industry from Canada to the US, either very busy or it is very difficult to kind of land projects right now. So it has been very interesting getting a lot of feedback from people and people that have been either messaging me or keeping in touch with me and how things are going. And I just wanted to hop on here, see how everyone is doing with their 2025 season so far. HVC, where are you getting your leads? How are you remaining booked out as you are? Innovative Landscape, happy Sunday to you as well. Dylan Schultz, big year, big jobs. That's great to hear. Big year, big jobs. Innovative, season is good, crazy dry, big jobs. I know you guys have had some dry weather there. For us, it has been raining like crazy. Like, we can't get a week of nice weather. And working through it. Thankfully, our open graded base projects help with that. But lawns are getting destroyed. JPL Neris. Crews start at new Techa Block patio tomorrow. Nice. What are you installing? What product's going down? Yeah, Western Canada. Crownstone, North America. Love to work together. I would be interested in hearing what you got. Toronto here. Yes, I am Toronto as well. Seems Dylan Schultz seems after this past election, people came to finally build some full-on landscapes. Yeah, I have heard that as well. That it was pretty touch and go, especially with what was going on. That people were just kind of waiting for news to be over with and then signing up on projects. I would say in the past 3 to 4 weeks, we finally had some good amount of leads came in, but before then it was touch and go. It was pretty hard to see what the season was going to be like. HVC construction, we were getting leads word of mouth in the GTA. Lots of rain though. Yeah, we're getting hammered. Yeah, well, GTA, the same as me. We're getting rain. Wet here in Connecticut. Easy pitch sales tools. Yes, I hear either very dry or very wet quite often here. GMP Property Services LLC season is going good so far down here in South Texas. Amazing. Good to hear. Lots of stuff booked. HVC, nice. Been a great spring so far. That's Dan Hagen, 88. JPL Naris, Blue 60 Champlain, great. Textured, nice. Decom Landscaping, Hamilton, Ontario, nice. Very wet here in Connecticut, and HVC says we have fences to do, 1 Teckle blog job plus 2 commercials, and plus a few other booked for next month. Awesome. We're booked into next month as well, and then we're hoping, because usually July, August kind of dries up for leads as people spend more time with their families, maybe go up north to their cottages, and are not so much concerned about booking a job during that time. So I'm hoping within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we have been booked into September. And that would be the goal for me. Wolt Gen Masonry. All subs or all employees? I don't know who that question was for, but I am all myself in employees. Innovative Landscape Co. Leads have been strong last 2 weeks, mostly recommendations, word of mouth. Awesome. That's always the best way. We have been focused on, especially during that dry spell up until about like 3-ish weeks ago, we'd been focused on Facebook ads, which had been really good in terms of getting leads and getting jobs. And that is probably something I'm going to turn back on this week sometime, just to hopefully get over that hump beyond August there, booked up. And that is how I've been getting my jobs this year. So far, so good. Just finished a 500K job last week, Crown Stone, North America. What all is that 500K job? How long did that take? Dan Hagen, 88, got 2 soil slingers and 12 skids of sod to lay tomorrow. Nice. Crownstone says next one is 750K starting this week if weather cooperates. That is amazing. How long does that 500K job take you, and how long do you expect that 750K job to take you? August is usually a bit dry, so nice to book August soon, hopefully. I agree with that, HVC. It would be nice to get over into that September area within these next couple of weeks booked out. That's kind of how I've always planned things, at least, and how I've gone about that. Dan Hagen gonna have not Our Finest Hour playing all day to get us through it. Amazing. If you don't know, Not Our Finest Hour is Paver King, the Landscape Daddy, and myself. We sit down once a week and we record for 2 hours. We break that up into 2 different episodes, 1 hour each, Friday, Saturday release. Not Our Finest Hour is where you want to listen if you just want anything and everything landscaping related, trucking related, and to hear what's gone right, what's gone wrong in that past week for us. If you don't listen already to the How to Hardscape podcast, I can't recommend that podcast enough. Obviously, I am the one behind that and what we're recording right here. So if you do listen to the How to Hardscape podcast, thank you so much. I do really appreciate that. Crownstone says 3.2 weeks, pool, gazebo, fireplace, fire pit, and that was for that 500K. Nice. 3.2 weeks is quite a bit to pound that out. And how many guys do you have on that crew to do that in 3.2 weeks? That's a well-oiled machine there. 750K job you're hoping is less than 5 weeks, and both have fire goblets. for those of you just tuning in, how is your 2025 season? Like I said, it started off slow for myself. I dabbled in some Facebook ads, and that is specifically some video ads. I always have it me, myself, and in behind me is a completed project, and I just talk about it. That way the client looks at it, they see me, that I communicate that I'm the one there on site. I am the one doing the design, doing the sales, all throughout the process. They always have me there helping them throughout the way. It is my way that we stand out against larger companies, that we're an owner operator and in the field, and they have communication with me all throughout. So I try to communicate that in the ad, as well as having something in the background that shows work that we do and can do for that potential client. We have specific ones for specific services. When I say services, it's all hardscape. But for example, I have one for a porch overlay. I have one for steps, front steps, which usually comes with like a front walkway. Front step is a big pain point. If they have something that's settling or falling over, they need to get that done immediately, but that typically does come with a front walkway to do that, so we can do a whole front entrance, and but we try to hit on that pain point of that step to be able to get that front walkway as well. Also, if you have done some ads getting those larger projects, they will cost a lot more money in ads to be able to actually, a lead isn't necessarily somebody that you go to a consultation to. So if you get 100 leads, you might go out onto 10 consultations from those 100, and then you might close, I don't know what your closing rate is, 50%, and get 5 projects from those. So to be able to see that same return on a much larger project, it's going to cost a lot more, but obviously that larger project is going to come with a higher dollar point for that, just based on a percentage of ad spend to what that project costs. And I've always focused on those lower costs to be able to, book those front walkways, porch overlays, get my foot in the door with that step, and then talk about a front walkway, and we can do a porch overlay as well and try to upsell from there. And also we have one for also a backyard, outdoor living space backyard, where it's just me walking through a gas fire feature, some lighting, retaining wall project along with a patio. We do have one for also off the top of my head, steps, front walkway. I would say those are the 2 main ones that I run. We do have others that I used to do, like restoration, so paver maintenance, paver lift and relay sort of thing. That also does bring in a lot of leads and costs very little. So if you're looking to get a quick bump in terms of your sales pipeline and get people on the schedule, those have always worked well for me. Once again, it all comes down to, I prefer video as opposed to just doing a photo ad and showing your face, showing them who you're going to be working with. But it also comes down to the sales process right after that. I, in this off season, worked on a welcome package, which has really helped, and I've gotten some really great feedback from that and have closed jobs specifically from that. Now, that welcome package in it has a little bit about the company, a little bit about myself, just like a quick 1 page, but then it has our portfolio, different projects. And then also in that welcome package, there's a very distinct, hey, if you see a photo, you can click on it and it'll take you right to one of our YouTube videos. So for our portfolio page, each of those photos within that portfolio goes right to a time lapse of that project that we did on our YouTube channel, which is the I Am a Hardscaper YouTube channel. So the client can actually see how that project was constructed. And then we also, at the very end of that welcome package, have a step-by-step breakdown of how we install patios, paver projects. We also have a step-by-step breakdown of how we install retaining walls. And each of those steps, once again, has a photo with a link to one of our videos. And it's just been a great tool to be able to, when a lead comes in, hey, check out this welcome package. Take a look at it. It's got photos of previous projects of ours, so you can see a little bit of our portfolio, but it also gets them to click around, see a little bit more about us, but also see social proof in terms of our YouTube channel, and to see the different videos. And like it or not, that social proof does play an important factor, and it's going to continue to play an important factor with demographic that is growing up and has more and more disposable income and is used to the internet and YouTube and so on. So that welcome package has been huge for us, not only for the client to get to know us more, get to know what we do and how we install and what differentiates us from others, but also to be able for them to know who they're going to meet on that initial consultation before we even get there, which has been really big for us. So I can't recommend that enough, having some sort of welcome package. Ours is just a PDF document, and we send that to every single lead that comes in, just so that they know who they are having out to their project for that consultation, and a little bit more about the company. But also that YouTube aspect has been a really big thing for my business, and I can't recommend that enough. YouTube channel, your face, however you want to do your YouTube channel, whether it's entertainment based, going along with those projects, or whether it's educational based, which is the direction that I went. We're leaning a little bit more into the entertainment side in future videos, because after creating YouTube videos for the past 4 years or so, we've kind of tapped out on that educational front. So if you do follow the I Am a Hardscaper YouTube channel, it's going to get more and more into the entertainment aspect with a few concepts that I have coming, rather than the educational side of things. Still going to be educational sprinkled within it, but that's the direction that we are going with the YouTube channel. Let's see, Crown Stone, North America. And some days were 12 plus, others were 7 to 9. That's incredible. 12 plus employees on that job site, other times 7 to 9 employees to finish that 500K project in 3.5 weeks, I think you said there. Amazing. DTE Landscaping, good to see you guys in here. Love this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How are you guys doing there in Colorado? How's the weather? How's the season looking? Winter was slow. Spring has really picked up. Yeah, we had a very slow spring, and now things have really picked up in these past few weeks here, at least. Do you guys still try to get projects worked on during the winter? I can imagine you guys get a bit of snow there as well. And for those of you tuning in and don't listen to the How to Hardscape podcast, this is a podcast for hardscapers. We usually have a hardscape business owner on the show and do an interview, or a hardscape consultant or industry leader of some sort to talk to, ask questions. Sometimes I do episodes like this where I just hop on Instagram, see how things are going for everybody around around North America, I would say, and just see how things are going. But I also like to talk about how to hardscape and what we are working on every once in a while, just to give an update as to what is going on in the how to hardscape world. DTE Landscaping says, we work all winter. Weather in Denver is very mild, some cold temps and snow, but doesn't stick around, so we're able to work all winter long. That's awesome, actually. We have been working on, if you don't know, a software for hardscape business owners. This is a software for budgeting, estimating, job costing, time tracking, scheduling, employee management, so on and so forth here. If you haven't heard about it, we do post about it every once in a while on our stories. We do talk about it at the beginning of every How to Hardscape podcast episode, just to update you on different features that are being worked on and being released. We are always improving it. We are always releasing more and more features. Recently, we released a few new features that I did want to highlight here, but beyond the budgeting, estimating, job costing, time tracking, scheduling aspect, we have things like chat groups. So you can create chat groups that are team-based, crew-based, specific to projects. So anytime a project does get approved, any employees that you have assigned to that project do get assigned to a specific chat group for that specific project. But you can create your own custom chat groups, add any employees that you want into it. Like I said, team-based, crew-based, however you want. We have courses. So we do have our hardscape installation courses. That's interlocking concrete pavement course, segmental retaining wall course, and other courses that you can use to assign to your employees. That would be hardscape, that would be onboarding purpose, that would be training purpose. And you can also create your own courses as well. I think safety training videos and things along the lines of that, where we actually do have guidelines on different courses that you can create with YouTube channels that you can put into those courses. We have PPE course, sun exposure safety course, respirator course, silica hazards course, how to safely maintain and operate a cutoff saw course. So good things to kind of get your employees ready to be in the field handling certain pieces of equipment, but also have that documentation that they have gone through those courses. They do get a certificate of completion once they have completed each of those courses. You can also create tests at the end of those courses or at the end of each lesson, however you want, that you can assign to them. So they actually have to get a certain passing score dictated by yourself. And that is a good way to have them go through some training and get that certificate of completion for that specific training that you can have on their file that they have actually completed it. So that was a big one for us to roll out. We also have an app, and on the app now we do have those courses. So you can take those courses right there on the app now. You can assign them to your employees right there on the app. That was our mobile app is always going to trail the features that are within our software on the web. So we release features on the web, and then we work on them on the mobile to get them released on mobile. And that is our game plan with that. And the courses was the most recent one released specifically on mobile. We've had the courses for quite a bit now on the web-based platform. Other things that we have been working on include a point system. So you have different default triggers within the software for different things that your employees can do within the software that you can assign specific points to each of those event triggers, essentially. So for example, your employee clocks in on time, they get a certain number of points. They remember to clock out at the end of the day, they get a certain number of points. They complete a course, they get a certain number of points, and so on and so forth. We have policy. You can create policies within the software and assign them to certain employees that they have to sign off on them, company handbooks, things like that. And if they go through that, they submit the policy, they sign off on it, they get a certain number of points. So there's a bunch of different event triggers within the software that you can assign points to. And then we have a points leaderboard, so employees can see where they rank against their other employees, sort of gamify that whole experience. And you can see that by division, you can see that by company wide, but you can also see it through a certain date period, and you can reset the points at any certain point in time and start over. So this is good for monthly, quarterly, yearly rewards, however you would want to do that in your business. And that would be the whole game plan behind the whole points system. That was a big one for us to tackle and to get out there. I thought it was really cool. I had seen some different ideas of this, and I thought, man, that would be a really cool idea to put within the software to be able to have a gamification of what your employees do, and if they're doing things that they should be doing, that they get points within that, completing a job within a certain number of labor hours and so on there. So that was a big thing for us. Invoicing was another one. We wanted to set up event triggers for invoicing that you could show your clients on the contract that they sign. So for example, the client signs off on the proposal, they accept it, they approve it, you can have a certain percentage go out as an invoice to them. And the start date or the project has started, that's another event trigger that you can have a certain percentage of that invoice be sent off to them. You can have different triggers. The project is completed. You can have manual ones in there as well. So different percentages that you can assign as an invoice based on that proposal. And the client sees that when you sign off the proposal of those different triggers and how much percent and dollar amount they're going to be invoiced at each of those different triggers there. So Invoicing was a big one for us. We're going to revisit a bunch of different features. For example, scheduling. We added a different amount of things to the schedule, but we are still working on improving that. We added the amount of projects that you have approved, the hours that you have approved, any schedule conflicts within your schedule. But we want to get our schedule. That's the main thing that we're going to be focusing on in this current phase. And this is a fairly short phase that we have here. We want to really clean things up within the software in this next phase that we are currently in. And things like quoting projects, we want that to be a lot more seamless, a lot more user-friendly. So we are focusing on streamlining our estimating process to make that a lot nicer for users, taking a lot of user feedback and implementing that. Very small things that don't take a lot of time to develop, but it's a lot of them that we've gotten a lot of feedback from our users. So we're trying to implement those as soon as possible and into our software to make sure that we are covering our bases with that, and to really focus on the user friendliness of the software as opposed to more and more features. We're kind of taking a step back to focus on that user friendly in order to take 2 steps forward in the next phase that we have drawn out and are going to be focusing on. Things like QuickBooks integration is a big one that we're going to be focusing on in the next phase. And a couple more features that I'm not going to speak on too much here on the podcast as well as on this Instagram Live. Tomorrow we have a YouTube video coming out. Every Monday we release a YouTube video on the I Am a Hardscaper YouTube channel. This one is called Completing a Paver Patio in 20 Hours or It Is Free. So that is one that goes much more into production rates, talking about production rates and how I quote a project, and then applying that to the field and hitting our labor hours with that. So trying to incorporate as much how to Hardscape headquarters software into that video there to talk about how that can help you estimate a project and how that can help you track how you are doing for a project in terms of those labor hours. But that is what we have got going on for How to Hardscape. I am a Hardscaper. We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. It's crucial to review your financial statements on a monthly basis so you can diagnose areas for improving your business's financial health early before they become significant issues. Too many contractors wait until the end of the year to review their financials as they file taxes, when it's often too late to take action to change the outcome. Cycle CPA not only handles bookkeeping and taxes, but they also ensure that you're armed with financial data on a monthly basis to make key business decisions. They offer benchmarking, cash flow forecasting, and assistance in developing targets for financial metrics. With their team of accountants specialized in the hardscape and landscape industry, they currently work with hundreds of companies in this field. Visit cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode. Irish Patab, sales are very slow this season. In 14 years, this has been the most challenging to find work. You know what? I've been hearing that a lot, to be honest. I hear every once, I would say it's fairly split in terms of the amount of people saying it's a very difficult year, or the amount of people saying this has been a very great year. I'd be very curious where those companies are located to be able to see how things are looking when it comes to geographic location and why that might be, as well as the companies and their sizes, as well as where they're at in their growth, to know, what sort of correlation there is there for companies that are doing really well versus companies that, like you said, I've heard that a lot in the past 14 years. This has been the most challenging year so far, and everything from that to this has been one of our best years so far. So it's been really interesting to get that feedback here. DTE Landscaping Co., how is 2025 going for you so far? It's going good. Like I said, we started fairly slow in terms of leads. I reached out, I went back into my CRM and went into all the clients that had reached out to us in the past that maybe we dropped the ball on communication, or clients that they filled out our lead form on Facebook or so on and so forth, and maybe they never got back to us, or maybe they dropped the ball in communication. Just opened up that conversation again, and then we booked up quite a bit during that slow period. And then I would say in the past 3 weeks we have had an uptick in leads coming in. During that time period, I also focused on a little bit of Facebook ads, and that also helped. So I did talk a little bit earlier on this live what I did for Facebook ads and how that has helped bring in some leads into the business, and how I kind of create those videos and what I included in those videos for those Facebook ads. DTE says, our winter was slow. We're back on track now, though. All of our relationships and marketing branding is going strong. So we're buried in leads. Closing and selling jobs is similar to last year, though. Or last year tough. Yeah, and I've heard, it's been tough. I tried to focus this off season on, like I said, that welcome package, to show a lot more about us and to give a little bit more of that social proof in that sales process, so that people can kind of be a little bit more warmed up to us, and to know a little bit more about what we do and what differentiates us from others. And I figured this was going to be a tougher year, especially for closing. So that's what I did this off season, to really focus on that. Not that took a whole lot of time, but I also have, How to Hardscape to focus on in the off season. So that took up a lot of my ever after landscaping time to be able to put together there. DTE, got to be on your sales game and make sure to stay on top of communication and service. I still, even in this hard, tough sales time, still struggle with communication at times, and I know I can be better with that. But DT, how have you gotten better with your sales game? I don't know if I'm talking to Chuck or Jeffrey here, but how have you really focused on your sales game? What have you done this year to help your sales and to close on this tougher time period? You say it makes the sale that much more rewarding. Absolutely, it does. Yeah, when you get a notification or an email, yeah, let's go ahead with that project. Man, that feels good. Especially when it is a little bit more difficult to close on those projects, especially if you're priced higher than what you think your market is. I still have a lot of times where we're much higher, and I always ask, can I ask what the price was that beat us? Or and I do try to ask the client, like, what's the most important thing to you? Is price the most important thing? If so, we're probably not going to be the best fit for you. And I try to set that up after introducing them to our company through our welcome package and through our consultation, and talking to them beforehand, and so on and so forth. So I try to do a good job. I can do a much better job, though, with that pre-qualification. Braden Skinner.4S, do you run your own Facebook ads or outsource them? I run my own Facebook ads. Before I had a hardscaping business, I had already dabbled in Facebook ads for other things that I did in the past. So I kind of had a good handle on that. I'd say you can learn a lot about Facebook ads in a very short period of time that can make you not as good as outsourcing them to a reputable or somebody that actually knows what they're doing, not somebody that just claims to know what they're doing. Not as good as them, but for the cost analysis of them taking control of your Facebook ads, charging you for those Facebook ads as well as their input into that Facebook ads, you're probably about equal to what that cost would be. So, like, for example, if your Facebook ads are 70% as good as outsourcing them to a reputable company, but that company charges you, double your Facebook ads, you're probably going to be fairly good in terms of where it all comes down to the creative, though, in my opinion. Targeting, everything like that. Facebook makes it really easy for that. And it's just a matter of learning how to target. And I have an Excel file of postal codes that I want to target, and I put them into the Facebook for that. And it's just been something that I've accumulated over time, just driving around and taking note of where I am and what the front yards look like, what the driveways look like, and just knowing that this might be an area that I want to target in my Facebook ads. Like I said, in my Facebook ads, I've got several different creatives, so I've got several different videos to choose from, but all of them have my face in it, and they might go back, from my face to a project, back to my face. But I think it's very important to have your face in them, and I think having a video is much better than having just a photo that you go off of. I don't know if that answers your question at all, but I did talk a little bit about them, and I always think that having some sort of understanding of something before you outsource them is key, especially with marketing. There's a lot of marketers that are very happy to take your money and not give results for that. So that's just my 2 cents there. And I hear it all the time. With especially marketing companies, especially, a website, somebody created a website for them, nothing happened. Though that does take time to get traction with your website, you pay a certain amount, you get a website, and then you decide you don't want to be with them anymore. Well, they take your website, because that's just how marketing companies work, unless you have actual control of your own domain and the content on it, which is a very key thing to talk about with your marketer before they actually do create your website. We want to take a break from today's episode to talk about marketing. Are you looking to take your hardscape business to the next level? Well, this is brought to you by Patio SEO, the leading marketing and brand building company in the hardscape industry. And if you don't know, this company is run by James Reed, who owns multiple hardscape businesses across the country. And here's the kicker. You're not just getting access to any team. You're getting access to the very team that helped grow James's own companies, plus hundreds of others in the industry. Whether you need a killer website, targeted ads, or data-driven strategies to grow, Patio SEO has got you covered. They've been in your shoes and know exactly what works. We've had James Reed on the podcast a couple of times, and they're some of our more popular episodes, talking about branding, talking about how he's built companies across the country. And with that, he needs lots of leads, which means he's had to perfect his branding and marketing. And now you can have access to that same in-house team that he has access to for his own hardscape company. So if you're ready to build your brand and see some serious growth, check them out at patioseo.com. That's patioseo.com, or follow James on Instagram at Road to 100Ms. That's Road to 100MS. Let's get your business the attention it deserves. Now back to the episode. DTE, Chuck here. Hey, Chuck. Creating sequences for follow-ups. So going back into the sales process, creating sequences for follow-ups, solid timelines for creating designs and estates. Phone calls instead of follow-up emails go a long way. Presenting designs and estimates in person make a big impact. I can definitely see that, especially for those larger designs. This year, I am especially focused on smaller projects just because of what I have going on right now with everything How to Hardscape. It helps me in my planning, as well as to be there for our software users. And at this time of year, I'm doing How to Hardscape podcast episodes, interviews in my truck. So a client that I'm on a job for a month, and they see me twice a week in my truck on my laptop, isn't a good look. But if I do a 3-day project, I can usually squeeze in one day, or like not a full day, but a certain time period in my truck on my laptop, and I'm a little bit more excused from that client by doing that. So that's just how I am operating my business currently, until we get to a point where we can go back to, because I still do like a large project here and there still. It just gets difficult with everything that I've got going on. Romex Steph, good to see ya. Yes, in person is key. Absolutely. DTE, love your idea. Welcome package. We're working on creating videos to send for every step of the sales cycle. Make it as personable as possible and informative. I do love that, the step of the sales cycle. I did create a while back on my website the different steps of the sales cycle, and I didn't know how the best way to, create videos around those that would be not just me in front of a camera talking to them and, creating a little bit more of a creative aspect to that would be not just like lecture based sort of. I'd be interested in what you guys have got planned going on with that, to talk to them, to, make those videos watchable, I would say, for potential clients and clients coming into the sales cycle, because I do know, even when I do send the welcome package, not everybody's going to look at that welcome package. I do know that for sure. Even though we try to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible, we try to focus in the email when we tell them to look at this welcome package that, hey, our portfolio is in the welcome package. So if you want to see some of the work that we do, I focus on that, as opposed to saying, hey, if you want to see how your project's built step by step, go take a look at that. I think that's a little bit less interesting to people. They're more focused on that final result. So I tell them our portfolio is in the welcome package. You can also learn a little bit more about us and how we do things in our company that helps us stand apart there. So I try to focus on that in the email to get them to actually open that welcome package. And like I said, in that welcome package, we have YouTube videos linked to everything, so that our portfolio has a photo of the actual project. And then in that welcome package, it says, hey, anytime you see a photo or this red YouTube symbol, it means there's a video. You can click on it. You can press play, and it takes them right to the YouTube channel. And it doesn't hurt having a YouTube channel that they actually see people commenting and people being helped out by the educational videos. So that social proof that I talked about, and I think that's only going to be more and more important as the years go on. As I said, as that demographic of people who grew up with the internet and with YouTube have more and more disposable income and want to see more and more about those things, or want to see somebody doing that.
We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Knowledge Tree Consulting. They are efficiency consultants in the industry with 35 plus years of industry experience building Oriole landscaping in Toronto, which they are completely hands off at this point. George and Peter have been on the podcast before, and George on multiple occasions now. I've personally leaned on him to help with the How to Hardscape headquarters software and how we can maximize the efficiency of user experience. And I know the guys at DTE Landscaping, Chuck and Jeffrey, who we've also had on the show multiple times, have hired them on in the past. Check out their consulting services, peer groups, and events that are coming up on their website, knowledgetreeconsulting.com, or check them out on Instagram at joinktc. Now back to our episode.
DTE, short and sweet. More about our culture and company. Make them feel good about who we are, and we're not just contractors. I know you guys will do a great job with that, because you guys have got some great personalities, and that will only help you in that video format for sure. So I am excited to see what you guys come up with that. How is that sales pipeline looking for you? Are the leads coming in? Is it tougher for you? That's what got us talking into marketing. That's what got us talking about sales, because as people have been touching on here, sales has become tougher. It's become more difficult to close. And what can you do in your business to help that close rate, especially for those projects that you want to be able to increase that close rate, which then in turn decreases your ad spend for each lead, which is a key thing that you want to focus on, that any leads coming in, that you're quickly reaching out to them. And I try to phone them as soon as possible. If they don't answer, I send them an email, once again, with that welcome package. And then I try to call them again to see what they're looking at, if we might be a good fit, and then schedule that in-person consultation as soon as possible, especially this year, in getting that schedule booked out. Romex Steph, can't get enough of Not Our Finest Hour. Thank you so much. DTE says both great podcasts, so much realness to them, which makes it easy to connect. We're all going through the same stuff. Nice to know we're all in it. Lots of good info from you all. Thanks so much there, Chuck. I do appreciate that. Lots of realness, especially on the Not Our Finest Hour podcast. So just the main feedback we get from that is it's nice. Like Chuck said, it's nice to know that we're all going through something similar. A lot of that doesn't get the same spotlight as the wins on social media, so it's always great to hear, especially on a weekly basis, anything and everything that goes right and goes wrong in a business, and to know that you're not alone. If you are going through a difficult time in your business, there's other people going through the exact same thing. And, hearing how other people deal with those things, especially Paver King and the Landscape Daddy, just knowing how they deal with those things on an ongoing basis is a awesome thing. And I'm very grateful to be a part of that and to sit in on those more so as well. For all of you that are having a more difficult season, just know that there are things that you can do to be able to turn that around, whether it is through ads or through networking a little bit more and really focusing on your sales process. Maybe there's a little bit of a tidbit that you got within this episode that can help you out. And I'm always here if you want to shoot me a message. Happy to help in any way that I can. More so on the online marketing aspect side of things. I've touched on the podcast, our website, search engine optimization strategy. We have Facebook ads and Google ads strategy. Everything that I use in my business, we have podcast episodes on those in great detail. I think last year we did a full 5-hour, 5-part marketing series. I'm going to revisit that this year because every year is going to be a little bit different in terms of the creative, in terms of what's working, what's not. So I do want to do a good breakdown of my numbers specifically and what I've paid for Facebook ads this year. Google ads as well, though I stopped Google ads this year because they weren't doing as well as my Facebook ads. So I do want to do a breakdown of my numbers, what I've spent on advertising, and what I've got a return on that advertising to kind of give you a good insight on what you should expect maybe, as well as what you should hope to achieve with that. But like I said, we do have a Facebook ads, Google ads, 5-hour episode, 5-part series on my ad strategy. We do have another 1-hour episodes on my search engine optimization strategy. So those are things that you can take a look back in the podcast library. That is How to Hardscape. We're over 300 episodes now, which is crazy. We started it back in 2019. So this is coming up on 6 years now with this. We also have a lot of great interviews coming up that I'm excited about, and hoping to be a little bit more creative with the way that we go about our interviews, as well as guests that we have on, and so on there. L Landscaping Service LLC. Thank you. I appreciate it. Irish Patab, Not Our Finest Hour is one of my favorites, but also enjoy How to Hardscape for insightful interviews. Thank you so much there. I appreciate that. Louis Luvano _5. Thanks. Great podcast. So much to learn. Thank you so much for listening. Alex Rees Ochoa _ I will be reaching out to you soon. I'm working for a hardscape company now in Arizona. Nice. Awesome. That's great to hear. I don't know if that's the Alex Rees that I know, but if it is, that's awesome that you're out in Arizona, and I hope all is well with you. Thank you so much for everybody that tuned in here. Oh, it is you, Alex. Good to hear. I hope all is well. I hope that Arizona is treating you well and that hardscape company is going well. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great week there, too. I appreciate it. If you listen to the How to Hardscape podcast, I do really appreciate the listens. If you listen to the Not Our Finest Hour podcast, we do really appreciate your listens. the engagement that we get from that, from the How to Hardscape podcast, you messaging. I try to keep up with messages as much as possible. If you follow the I'm a Hardscaper YouTube channel, once again, thank you as well. And hopefully our content does help in some sort of way, and that it's helped you, especially in this, if it is a much more difficult year for you. I hope you've picked up some sort of tidbit or nugget here and there, whether it's from myself, from the other guys at Not Our Finest Hour, or from the actual interviewees that we have on the show, those that give me an hour or more of their time for that. And I do appreciate them as well for helping get information out there onto the How to Hardscape podcast. Thanks. Thank you, Chuck. You crush it this week as well. Let's go. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you want to catch when we go Instagram live next, you can join our updates channel on How to Hardscape on Instagram. If you just join that there, I will post the next time when we plan to go live, just so we can get some more people in there that might want to share some of their insight or just join in on the conversation live there. And before we leave, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. Cycle CPA. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. PatioSEO.com. And now you know Patio SEO can take your hardscape business to the next level. James Reed and his expert team have built a reputation on success, not just for their own companies, but for hundreds of others just like yours. So don't wait. Visit PatioSEO.com to learn more and get started. But also be sure to follow James's journey on Instagram at Road to 100 M's. That's Road to 100 MS for behind the scenes tips and insights. And I do recommend checking that out and following along to that. Ready to build your brand? Patio SEO is here to help you every step of the way. And Knowledge Tree Consulting. George and Peter there are efficiency consultants in our industry, and I've had the privilege of having them both on one episode of the How to Hardscape podcast, and George multiple other times. Always great episodes, and I also got to sit down on a one-on-one with George and went through what they do for businesses, and I left that meeting with a lot of value, so I can't recommend them enough. If you want to learn more about what they do, go to knowledgetreeconsulting.com and get that conversation started with them today. And we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.